Hey everybody, welcome to week 4. This is a sort of a pivotal moment, I think, for us because we've moved from finishing up our net to starting a new resource by Sharon De Los Parks. You have a reaction paper that's done, and now you have one assignment in. So this really starts to feel a little bit like class, doesn't it? Which I'm really, really excited about. Let me give you a couple of highlights just to frame this particular module and just tell you a little bit about the reaction paper and a couple other things as well. As we move into Sharon De Los Parks, I hope that you find this resource really engaging. My students love this book. And I think it just really unpacks some things for us. One of the things that we're going to talk about in this session is this distinction between faith and faithing, of what we mean by this concept of faith, that not only is a noun, but is also a verb. And I hope that as you listen to this lecture and you hear it unpacked, that it maybe gives you some language for some of your own experiences, or certainly the experiences that you're dealing with as you teach and mentor and pastor young people in your communities as well. So the way I set it up, I hope that you find it interesting. I hope you use it if you want in your own teaching, but I find that this engagement of Peter and Jesus tying in De Los Parks and also some other emerging adult theory kind of adds some really exciting stuff there. So anyway, have fun with it, and I hope you really enjoy that. A couple other things I wanted to draw your attention to. You finished your reaction papers. Great job. Sarah and I are just about done grading those, and you should see those released on Monday. So you can watch for that, and that'll be really exciting. Now, I've put in the announcement sort of a list of things to watch for with your reaction paper for next time. This is not some sort of underlying negative thing that I'm sending your way like you all did it wrong. You actually did a great job, and we were really impressed with your ideas and your writing. But sometimes now, as we move forward, I think we're going to try to push you a little bit further in your thinking. And so we've given you feedback in your reaction papers, but also I wanted to give you a list of things that generally I sort of think about and watch for with these as well. So read through that list. Won't go through it now, but hopefully you'll find that helpful to you and just give you a little bit more clarity as you work with this. But again, this is just like extra. You all did a great job, and you can really be proud with your interacting with our net. And I also sense that some of you were getting pretty excited about particular topics that may turn into your final paper topics, which isn't so bad either. A couple of things to remind you of. Number one, session with Steve is still happening this Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific time. I've had a great conversation with many of you over the last 2 weeks, and I hope that you all can take advantage of that time where we get together and talk about what you want to talk about. I'll bring some things as well, and we haven't had any problem filling up that hour, and it's just been great to get to know some of you on a really a more personal way. So y'all come, and we'll have a great time together. Also want to remind you, I had this a couple weeks ago, there's some conferences and opportunities coming up. The Orange Conference, the Youth Ministry Exchange is happening Thursday and Friday. You can still sign up for that. Go back and look at previous announcements, and you'll see the link. Also, if you're interested in these conversations that's being sponsored by the Association of Youth Ministry Educators, you can access that link. That's free, and those are going to be happening, I think, in a couple of weeks, so you'll have that opportunity as well. So take advantage of these exciting things that are coming up, and we hope that that'll be something that'll be great for you. Now, I want to close our session today by actually reading you a poem. Now, that may just sound like, oh great, he's going to read a poem, but let me just tell you a couple things of how I think about this. I think that as you're reading, and actually some of you have been asking me about this, like how do you keep up with reading and how do you not get bored or tired or that type of thing? I find that as I read in certain genres or certain topics, I have to also have other spaces that I'm reading as well. This allows me to connect the dots. It helps me use different parts of my imagination and my brain. It gives me a chance to have a broader view of my own interests and the things that I'm sort of searching and trying to figure out in my own life. And so I want you to know right up front, I'm not like this big like poet geek. I don't read poetry that much, but I did come across a particular individual named Christian Wyman. Christian has taught in a number of places, including at some universities out east. I think currently he's got a position at Yale But he writes from this deep and profound place where he's sort of working through his own journey. He has terminal cancer. He's a young guy. I think he's in his 30s or 40s. But he writes beautifully. And he just had a new book come out called Survival is a Style. And I want to read the prologue to you because I think it speaks to something quite deep and profound in his own life. But I think it speaks to something that we're trying to address in this week as well. So let me read this to you. Sit back, close your eyes, listen to my winsome voice, and here we go. Church or sermon, prayer or poem, the failure of religious feeling is a form. The failure of religious feeling is a form of love that, though it could not survive the cataclysmic joy of its inception, nevertheless preserves its own sake of something, a space in which the grievers gather, invalid ice that barriers weather, church or sermon, prayer or poem. Finer and finer the meaningless distinctions, theodicies, ideologies, books, books, books. I need a place for unbelief to breathe. I need a form for failure, since it is what I have. Let me just read the last stanza again. I need a space for unbelief to breathe. I need a form for failure, since it is what I have. When I read that the first time, it really struck me because I think that's so much the experience of us as human beings, but I think especially for teenagers and especially emerging adults. They need a space to breathe, to allow failure and doubt and questions to have room to unpack and to express and to let out and to take in. And I think the work that we do in this class and in your ministries is creating spaces for that. That's not easy. Some people can't hold that space with others. Some want to rush through it. Others want to solve it for them. Some of them don't want to experience it all. But the way to faith is actually through doubt and questions. Doubt and faith aren't enemies, they're actually friends. And so how do we create environments that allow for that to happen? I hope that as you read Delos Parks, as you think about this concept of faith and faithing, as you think about what it means to create space to breathe, that this evokes in your imagination something deep in your own life, but also in the work that you're doing with young people, creating spaces like that. So with that said, have a great week. Enjoy this text. Can't wait to interact with you on it. And may, as you navigate this week, know the presence of Jesus and know God's grace and peace.